Have you ever looked at your garden and wished for borders that felt like art? In today's video, we're about to uncover 30+ DIY garden border and edging ideas that will completely transform the way you see your backyard. These are not just borders. They're creative statements made from simple materials like cement, bark, and pebbles. Welcome to Arkan Aesthetic Studio, where we turn imagination and upcycling into inspiring outdoor creations. This video includes timestamps so you can jump to the ideas you love most. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content, there's a real story and a real family. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it truly matters. When you hit that subscribe button, you're not just helping a creator grow. You're helping a dream stay alive. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. One, Pebble-River cement edging with bark bridges. Imagine walking through your backyard and discovering a tiny river flowing along the flower beds. That's the magic behind the Pebble-River cement edging with bark bridges. This design combines strength, beauty, and a touch of rustic charm. The cement channel acts as the foundation, giving durability that lasts through every season. Once poured and set, the channel is carefully filled with colorful pebbles arranged like a flowing stream, creating the illusion of water without any maintenance. To enhance the story, rustic bark bridges are added across the Pebble River. These bridges can be made by pressing bark strips into cement molds, then painting them with earthy tones or even cheerful colors to match your garden style. The result is not just edging. It becomes a centerpiece that turns simple borders into living art. Imagine this along a bed of strawberries, tomato vines, or blooming summer flowers. Every glance feels like stepping into a fairy tale garden. This project proves that with simple materials like cement, bark, and pebbles, you can transform your outdoor space into something extraordinary. Two, rustic pebble lantern posts. Rustic pebble lantern posts are more than just garden borders. They are tiny beacons of charm that bring warmth and artistry to your outdoor space. Each lantern post starts with a simple cement mold, shaped into a small tower or lantern form. While the cement is still setting, pieces of tree bark are pressed onto the surface to imprint a rustic wood texture. Once dry, these textures are painted in earthy or vintage tones, making the edging look aged yet stylish. The magic happens with the pebble mosaics. Small, colorful stones are arranged like glowing glass, either in patterns or abstract clusters, giving each lantern post its own personality. When lined along a pathway or flower bed, they mimic lanterns guiding you through the garden. Imagine them surrounding a patch of roses or lighting up the border of a vegetable garden filled with peppers, tomatoes, or even berries. It's an easy way to blend durability with rustic elegance, proving once again that cement, bark, and pebbles can do so much more than just create borders. They tell a story in every corner of your garden. Three, Checkerboard, Pebble-Bark Pavers. The checkerboard Pebble-Bark Pavers bring a playful twist to traditional garden edging. By combining simple cement molds with bark and pebble textures, you can create a bold design that looks far more intricate than it really is. Start by pouring cement into square molds. Half of them are pressed with bark strips to capture a rustic wooden texture, while the other half are inlaid with pebbles for a mosaic-like finish. Once cured, the bark-textured tiles can be painted with earthy browns or even soft pastel shades, while the pebble tiles sparkle with natural stone colors. Arranged in an alternating checkerboard pattern, these pavers instantly transform an ordinary border into a showpiece. They work beautifully along flower beds filled with lavender and roses, or framing a small vegetable patch of strawberries and tomatoes. The result is a balance of structure and creativity, a design that feels both rustic and artistic. Each step along the border becomes an experience, inviting visitors to pause, admire, and appreciate the handmade charm. With such a unique approach, your garden doesn't just stand out, it becomes unforgettable. Four, vintage tree slice edging. Vintage tree slice edging is the perfect way to bring a natural woodland feel into your garden while still enjoying the durability of cement. This design begins with circular molds filled with cement, each stamped or carved to resemble the rings of a tree slice. Around the outer edge, bark textures are pressed into the surface, and small pebbles are set into the rim to give the discs a decorative border. Once hardened, you can paint the discs in realistic wood tones, enhancing the rings with darker or lighter shades for added depth. Arranging these cement tree slices side by side along a flower bed or pathway creates the illusion of a rustic wooden edge, yet it will last for many years without rotting. Imagine these discs bordering a patch of lavender, daisies, or even framing a small berry garden, strawberries, raspberries, or blackberries. Each disc looks like a slice of nature frozen in time, bringing both artistry and function to your backyard. This project shows that with a little creativity, cement can capture the beauty of wood and the sparkle of pebbles in one timeless design. Five, pebble spiral garden rings. Pebble spiral garden rings turn simple edging into a true work of art. The idea begins with round cement molds poured to form discs or rings that will act as the garden's border. Before the cement hardens, spirals are carefully drawn into the surface, and small colorful pebbles are pressed along the grooves to bring the design to life. Bark strips can be used to outline the spirals, adding rustic texture and creating a sense of depth. Once set, the surface can be painted to emphasize the swirls, warm earthy tones for a natural look, or playful colors for a more whimsical effect. When placed side by side, these spiral rings create a magical rhythm along your flower beds or vegetable patches, almost like the garden is alive with motion. Imagine them framing a bed of marigolds, lavender, or surrounding tomato plants heavy with fruit. The spirals catch the sunlight, sparkling against the greenery, and transform your garden borders into something unforgettable. This DIY design is proof that with just cement, pebbles, and bark, you can create a border that feels alive with creativity and charm. 6. Rustic bark totem poles. Rustic bark totem poles bring a bold, sculptural touch to your garden borders. Unlike traditional flat edging, these are vertical cement posts stacked in playful heights to mimic mini totem poles. The process starts with small cement molds shaped like columns. Before they set, bark strips are pressed into the surface to imprint a textured, natural design. Once dry, each column is topped with pebble caps, smooth stones pressed into cement or glued onto the top, adding both decoration and durability. When arranged side by side, these totem poles create a rustic fence-like border that feels both artistic and protective. They can be painted with earthy tones to highlight the bark patterns, while the pebbles sparkle in natural sunlight. Picture them surrounding a patch of lavender, lining a pathway through roses, or even edging a vegetable garden filled with tomatoes, peppers, and grapes. The result is edging that feels alive, almost like guardians watching over your plants. This project transforms simple materials into dramatic accents, proving that a garden border can be both functional and full of character. Seven. Driftwood and pebble fusion border. The driftwood and pebble fusion border is where rugged nature meets lasting strength. This idea takes inspiration from the beauty of driftwood washed smooth by water and the sparkle of colorful pebbles. The process begins by pouring cement into rectangular molds and embedding strips of bark, branches, or driftwood directly into the surface. The texture of the wood creates a rustic, organic look, while the cement provides stability. Before the cement sets completely, pebbles are pressed in as decorative accents, either in flowing patterns or clustered designs. Once cured, you can enhance the wood with earthy stains or playful painted tones, making the border truly stand out. The result is edging that feels like it belongs in a storybook garden. Raw, handmade, yet sturdy enough to last for years. Imagine these borders framing a bed of sunflowers or surrounding grapevines heavy with fruit. With every glance, the mixture of cement, wood, and pebbles tells a story of nature preserved in time. This border is not just practical. It's a work of art that turns ordinary garden edges into extraordinary focal points. Eight. Braided pebble and bark strips. Braided pebble and bark strips take garden edging to a whole new level with a design that feels woven by hand. This creative border begins with cement poured into long strip molds. While still soft, alternating sections of bark and pebble are pressed into the surface, arranged in a diagonal or crisscross pattern to mimic the look of a braid. Once the cement sets, the bark textures can be painted in warm wood tones while the pebbles sparkle with their natural colors or are enhanced with vibrant paint for a whimsical touch. The result is edging that appears both rustic and artistic, as though nature itself created the weave. These braided strips are perfect for framing pathways, lining flower beds, or even highlighting small vegetable gardens. Picture them surrounding rows of lavender, strawberry plants, or bright tomato vines. The woven design draws the eye and adds depth to the garden. Strong enough to withstand the seasons yet delicate in detail, this border design transforms a simple cement strip into a captivating piece of outdoor art. 9. Rustic cottage log bricks. Rustic cottage log bricks bring the warmth of a countryside cabin straight into your garden borders. These unique bricks are crafted by pouring cement into rectangular molds designed with wood grain textures. To make them even more authentic, bark strips can be pressed into the wet cement, leaving behind a rugged, natural pattern. Once the bricks are cured, they can be painted in realistic wood tones, from rich browns to sun-faded grays, making them look almost indistinguishable from real logs. The magic comes when you set these log-like bricks side by side along your flower beds or garden paths. Pebbles can be used to fill the small spaces between bricks, adding both decoration and durability. The overall effect feels rustic and homely, like stepping into an old-world cottage garden. Imagine these bricks framing a bed of roses or keeping a neat edge around strawberries and tomatoes. Strong, weather-resistant, and full of charm, this project shows how cement can take on the soul of wood and blend beautifully with the colorful textures of pebbles. It's a timeless design that makes any garden feel warm, cozy, and enchanting. (10) Pebble wave edging. Pebble wave edging transforms your garden border into a living piece of art that flows with rhythm and movement. The design begins by pouring cement into molds shaped with gentle curves instead of straight lines, creating the illusion of water rippling through the garden. Before the cement sets, colorful pebbles are carefully pressed along the curves, forming a sparkling ribbon that dances with sunlight. To add contrast, bark textures are stamped into the outer ridges, making the waves stand out even more. Once dry, earthy paints can be used to highlight the bark ridges, while the pebbles can be left natural or enhanced with bright colors for a playful look. The result is an edging that feels alive, bringing energy and motion to flower beds or vegetable patches. Imagine these waves bordering a garden of lavender, roses, or surrounding a patch of ripe tomatoes and peppers. The curves guide the eye across the landscape, turning a simple border into an expressive statement. Pebble wave edging proves that with a little creativity, even cement can capture the beauty of water, wood, and stone in one stunning design. (11) Rustic bark-lined fire pit border. The rustic bark-lined fire pit border is the perfect way to blend functionality with rustic beauty. This design transforms a simple cement fire pit into a centerpiece by surrounding it with handcrafted edging. After the main fire pit structure is built, cement is poured around the outer edge to create a sturdy border. While the cement is still soft, bark tiles are pressed into place, leaving behind their rugged texture and natural charm. Between the bark tiles, colorful pebbles are arranged in mosaic-like patterns, catching the light and adding vibrancy to the design. Once cured, the bark can be painted in earthy browns or vintage grays, while the pebbles sparkle in their natural tones or can be brightened with paint. The result is a fire pit that doesn't just provide warmth, but also serves as an artistic focal point for gatherings. Imagine sitting with friends and family on a summer evening, surrounded by lavender and roses, with the rustic bark and pebble border glowing softly in the firelight. This DIY idea proves that even a fire pit can carry both strength and story, bringing elegance and warmth to your backyard. 12. Circular Pebble-Bark medallions. Circular Pebble-Bark medallions bring elegance and artistry into garden edging, turning a border into a row of decorative jewels. The process begins by pouring cement into round molds, forming discs that can be used as standalone medallions. Before the cement hardens, grooves are carved or stamped into the surface, creating spaces for bark inlays and pebble mosaics. These elements are arranged in spirals, floral shapes, or abstract designs, giving each medallion a one-of-a-kind look. Once cured, the bark can be painted in warm rustic tones, while the pebbles sparkle in their natural colors or are brightened with paints for added vibrancy. When placed side by side, the medallions form a stunning border that feels both strong and artistic. They can line flower beds, frame a vegetable patch, or even guide a garden pathway. Imagine them surrounding lavender, roses, or a strawberry patch, sparkling in the sunlight as if they were handmade treasures. This design proves that a border can be more than just functional. It can be a true expression of creativity, transforming every step through your garden into an inspiring experience. (13) Rustic bark arches. Rustic bark arches are a charming way to add a touch of elegance and character to your garden borders. These mini arches are created by pouring cement into curved molds, shaping them like gentle gateways for your flower beds. While the cement is still fresh, bark strips are pressed into the surface to imprint rustic textures, while small colorful pebbles are embedded along the curve to create sparkling details. Once cured, the arches can be painted with earthy browns or even soft vintage tones, making them look like aged stone blended with wood. When lined together, they form a rhythmic border that feels both whimsical and refined. Picture these arches surrounding a patch of lavender or roses, or framing the edge of a vegetable garden full of tomatoes and peppers. The design feels like walking through a series of miniature gateways, guiding the eye and adding depth to your outdoor space. These arches aren't just strong and weather-resistant. They bring personality, story, and a handcrafted charm that makes your garden feel truly unique. (14) Pebble-encrusted bark fences. Pebble-encrusted bark fences bring strength and rustic artistry together in one striking design. This border is created by setting vertical cement posts into the ground, each wrapped in bark textures that mimic the look of real wood. Between the planks, colorful pebbles are pressed into the cement, forming a natural grout that sparkles when sunlight hits. The combination of bark and pebbles makes each section look like a miniature rustic fence, strong enough to hold its shape yet decorative enough to stand out as garden art. Once cured, the bark can be painted in warm, earthy tones, while the pebbles can remain natural or be brightened with playful colors. When arranged in a row, these bark fences create a protective yet stylish edging for flower beds or vegetable patches. Imagine them surrounding lavender, roses, or keeping a tidy border around strawberries and tomatoes. The result is edging that feels both traditional and artistic, like a handcrafted piece of countryside charm. With this DIY project, your garden borders won't just mark space. They'll tell a story of strength, beauty, and creativity woven together. 15. Rustic bark spiral totems. Rustic bark spiral totems are a dramatic way to bring height and movement into your garden borders. Unlike flat edging, these vertical designs twist upward like miniature sculptures, adding rhythm and personality to the landscape. The totems are created by pouring cement into molds shaped with a gentle spiral. While still soft, bark strips are pressed into the surface, imprinting rustic textures that resemble natural wood. Pebbles are then placed in a spiral pattern along the grooves, making the design feel alive as it winds upward. Once cured, the bark details can be painted in warm tones, while the pebbles glisten in natural or colorful shades. When arranged side by side, these totems look like guardians standing proudly around your garden. Imagine them framing a bed of lavender or surrounding tomato vines heavy with fruit, catching the sunlight as the spiral designs glow with texture. More than just edging, these totems act as sculptural accents that give your garden depth and character. With cement, bark, and pebbles, you can create borders that rise above the ordinary and become conversation pieces in your outdoor sanctuary. (16) Pebble mosaic garden waves. Pebble mosaic garden waves turn the simple act of edging into a flowing masterpiece that feels alive with movement. The idea begins by shaping cement into layered curves, mimicking the rise and fall of waves. Before the cement sets, alternating sections of bark and pebbles are pressed into the surface. The bark gives a warm rustic texture, while the pebbles form sparkling mosaics that look like water rippling across the border. Once dry, earthy tones can be painted on the bark ridges to highlight the natural patterns, while the pebbles shine in their original colors or can be enhanced with paints for a whimsical twist. When placed side by side, these waves guide the eye along the edge of a flower bed or vegetable patch, creating a rhythmic flow that transforms the garden into a living artwork. Imagine them bordering a row of lavender or framing a bed of tomatoes and strawberries. The curves catch the sunlight, making your garden feel dynamic and enchanting. This project proves that even something as functional as a garden border can carry elegance, creativity, and story. (17) Rustic cross-section pebble blocks. Rustic cross-section pebble blocks bring the timeless beauty of trees into your garden borders, but with the lasting strength of cement. To create this design, cement is poured into square or rectangular molds. While it's still soft, ring patterns are carved or stamped into the surface to mimic the natural look of a tree cross-section. Bark textures can be pressed into the edges for added realism. Before the cement sets, colorful pebbles are arranged around the borders, forming a sparkling frame that makes each block feel special. Once dry, the rings can be painted in shades of brown, beige, or even soft grays, while the pebble outlines shine in natural or painted colors. Arranged in a row, these blocks create edging that feels both rustic and decorative, like stepping through a woodland path. Imagine them framing a bed of lavender, or placed neatly around a patch of strawberries and tomatoes. Each block looks like a frozen piece of nature, preserved forever in your garden. This project blends durability with artistry, proving that borders can be functional while still carrying beauty, story, and rustic charm. 18. Pebble stream border with bark bridges. The pebble stream border with bark bridges transforms your garden edging into a miniature landscape that tells a story. This design begins with cement channels shaped to mimic a winding stream. Once the cement is set in place, colorful pebbles are arranged inside, flowing like water across the garden. To add charm and character, small bark strips are placed as tiny bridges crossing the stream, making the border feel alive and interactive. These bark bridges can be painted in rustic wood tones, or even given playful pops of color to stand out. The result is edging that doesn't just mark a boundary, it creates a scene, almost like a fairy tale path running alongside your flowers or vegetables. Picture this border winding next to a bed of lavender, or surrounding strawberry plants and tomato vines, the pebbles sparkling under the sun as if they were drops of water. Durable, creative, and full of character, this design proves that garden borders can go beyond function. They can bring joy, storytelling, and imagination into your outdoor space, making your garden truly unforgettable. (19) Rustic bark lantern pathway. The rustic bark lantern pathway turns your garden borders into glowing guides that lead visitors through a magical landscape. This design begins with cement blocks molded into lantern shapes, sturdy enough to withstand the seasons. Bark textures are pressed into the surfaces, giving each block a rustic, natural look. Before the cement sets, pebble mosaics are arranged on the sides, designed to resemble glowing lantern light when caught by the sun. Once dry, earthy paints highlight the bark patterns, while golden or colorful accents on the pebbles make them shimmer like tiny lights. When placed along a garden pathway or around flower beds, these lantern blocks create the feeling of a softly illuminated trail. Imagine walking through roses and lavender, guided by borders that sparkle as if lit from within. Or picture them edging a vegetable patch of tomatoes and strawberries, turning the practical into something enchanting. This project proves that borders can go beyond marking space. They can transform the entire garden atmosphere, making every stroll feel like a walk through a storybook path. (20) Vintage mosaic bark stones. Vintage mosaic bark stones are the perfect way to bring individuality and charm into your garden borders. Unlike uniform bricks, these cement slabs are poured in irregular shapes to mimic the look of natural stones. Before the cement sets, strips of bark are pressed along the edges, creating rustic frames that give each piece a warm, handcrafted feel. The center is decorated with pebble mosaics, patterns of spirals, waves, or abstract shapes that catch the light and make every slab unique. Once cured, earthy paints can highlight the bark textures, while the pebbles can remain natural or be enhanced with vibrant colors to add personality. Lined together, these stones create a border that feels both vintage and artistic, almost like fragments of a forgotten mosaic path rediscovered in a cottage garden. Imagine them surrounding a bed of lavender or framing tomato and strawberry plants, each piece telling its own story. Strong, weather-resistant, and beautiful, this DIY project ensures no two borders ever look the same. With vintage mosaic bark stones, your garden edges don't just define space. They celebrate creativity and timeless rustic charm. And that wraps up our journey through 30+ DIY garden border ideas using cement, bark, and pebbles. These designs prove that even the simplest materials can bring magic into your backyard. Which idea was your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Your feedback inspires me to keep creating. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can discover the beauty of DIY garden art. Until next time, keep creating, keep imagining, and keep making your garden a place of wonder.